Hello, I'm Craig Constantine. Welcome to Pod Talk, short conversations with indie podcasters, which are not just about podcasting, because I like to take the scenic route. My guest today is Jason Tieri. Welcome, Jason. How are you this morning? I think we're in the same time zone.
Yeah, we are. I am doing well. It's a beautiful morning here in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and I'm happy for the warm weather.
Amen. The weather I'm in Eastern Pennsylvania has been disconcertingly gorgeous. Like I keep waiting, like where's the tornado or the hurricane? So I get nervous when it's this nice, but my wife is
Right.
telling me we need rain.
Yes. A little bit of dry right now.
Yeah. A mutual friend of ours who did on a previous episode with me said, you need to talk to Jason. And my answer is usually like, absolutely, whenever anybody says that. So thanks for dropping in.
Yeah.
The people who listen to the show know I pause a lot, and it means I can't decide what to say because there's too many. I'm like a kid in a candy store. I think what I'm most interested in is your perspective, viewpoint, input, comments, anything you want to share from I'm going to say behind the scenes part. So the post production work that you do, you've also got a lot of experience in front of the mic, which obviously people can hear. But I guess the place to start is, I'm just going to jump like right in because we've been talking beforehand. When you're getting tape recorded stuff from people that you're working with, how do you get through like, oh, this could be so much better? Like, there's only so much I can do here in post production, but this could be so much better. Like, how do you balance the urge to like go and coach them? Do you do that, or like, oh, I'm just going to edit it and that's as good as I can make it? Like, what goes on in your head in that space?
Yeah, I offer my clients coaching as part of. I mean, I don't charge for that. I charge for my time editing. I'm not going to say, oh, you need to pay me an additional amount a month, but I try to coach them because honestly, a lot of these new clients, they've never been in front of a mic. So a lot of my coaching is mic placement, where you're recording, those kind of things. But yeah, I do. It depends on the client. I have one that I can be aggressive on the editing. I'd be like, oh, that sounds like dog shit. You know what I mean? Like I'm just, and it's not something
Yes.
that's like,
It's not judgmental, but it does.
no, and I usually tell her, I'll be like, hey, just to let you know at this time, I cut this out. It just didn't flow right. But I also have a client that doesn't want me to do any of that stuff. Like it is all just or, coffee cups or anything like that. So
background noise.
But it is hard for that one. I'd be like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. You know what I mean? But again, I do try to give feedback almost every episode. Like, hey, just let you know, I'm marking this explicit because you use 6 F-bombs. You know what I mean? But then the next one, you just got to let them know. Like, and they're like, yeah, I'm fine with that. So no, it can be hard not to cut stuff. I like the more freedom because my goal is to make them sound amazing. And so if I can clean up some fumbles that really don't make sense, then I just go ahead and do it. So
yeah, there's so much. Okay, there's so much in there about I could say, oh, what as people like me who are on mic, I'm going to resist the urge to go, yes, I'm in a hot room. I should treat the room. But what are things that you see that are like the Pareto principle, the 80-20? Like if people would just do this one thing, like it would fix mouth noise, or people need to pause more, or like do you find that there are like some histogram there, oh, these are some big common problems, or is it really just like every person on the mic has got different tics and problems?
I would say that. I mean, you talk about treating the room. That's my biggest complaint is the echoing of the room. I mean,
I'm sorry.
These no, yours sounds great. You must have carpet there.
I'm standing on a piece of carpet. Here's what it sounds like. This is what the room sounds like. Like you can hear it's a little hot. It's
not bad though.
It's not bad. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, that's my biggest complaint because a couple of my clients are in California. There's not a lot of carpet, so they're in tiled rooms and there's nothing around.
Echo box.
Mouth noises aren't so bad. I have software that I can take 90% of those out. But no, it's just they all have a unique challenge. I guess my biggest complaint is getting episodes on time. Honestly, like my new contracts need to say if they're not here by this date, I'm charging $50 just because I have a life
because
too.
Because so do you also usually do the publication part of it too, like what I would call
Yep,
the systems administration? Oh,
I
right. So
do.
then you're
My Yeah, I get
you're on
everything.
the
All they need to provide me is the audio and their show notes. The rest of it I do.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're under the gun for like, it's supposed to go out on Tuesday at 10 and you send it to me at 9:30.
Yeah, it's not happening. It's gonna be late. So,
Have you ever done
yeah.
any shows yourself or worked on production? So the stuff that I do, I gave up on schedules. In the very, very beginning, I couldn't get the stuff out the door. And then I had someone on my team and I said to her, your job is to hit me with a bat so that this goes out at 10 a.m. on Wednesdays. And she was like, okay, and now I'm just like, screw this. I've given up completely on scheduling. So any thoughts on, have you done any shows where you haven't worked on scheduling? Or haven't
I
worked on a
haven't.
schedule?
It sounds
Oh, do it.
amazing.
Oh my god, it's like
It
crack
sounds
cocaine. It's the
amazing,
greatest
but I
thing
mean,
ever.
I don't think it's I like, all the tricks in the trade. You've heard everything. Consistency is key for gaining an
Yeah.
audience and keeping an audience. There's so much to listen to. If you just, don't post for 3 weeks,
Yeah,
they're
you
gonna be
fall
like,
off.
yeah, you fall off. So it all depends on what your goals are. I like your attitude on a lot of your shows where you're just like, F it. Like, I'll throw it up there. If they listen to it, great. I had a good time. That's all I care about. I don't know if that works for my brain. That's part of the problem. Problem or good thing. It's good for my clients, right? Because I'm very strict on like making sure it sounds as
Yeah,
good as I
disciplined.
possibly can. And I'm just that kind of person. I'm more schedule oriented and stuff like that. But there can be stress, and I am also can be a what am I trying to say?
Words
Procrastinator.
in
That was rough.
words in a
Um,
sentence is putting.
I always say I'm a podcaster. I can't even talk. Um, that I have a client. She gives it to me on Wednesday. It's not due till Monday, but there's Jason Sunday afternoon editing because it doesn't take long. It's like less than an
Yeah.
hour. But I'm like, why didn't I do this early in the week? I could have had my Sunday afternoon off, but no.
Mm,
But it'll be damned if it'll ever be late. It'll never be late unless I'm in the hospital.
yeah. It's what do we call that? The I always call that the work ethic. Like I have
Yeah,
a personal stern taskmaster, and my work ethic is probably unhealthy.
yeah,
It doesn't sound like you have that problem, but for me, it can really be a thing to be like, this has to get done. And I recorded it with Jason, and I'm already like thinking. I'm like, this paper I'm writing on is a checklist of what to do in post production, and like it's
yeah,
it's simple steps, but do this and do that and get it out the door. And nobody knows that I'm like the people who listen to the show, and there are a few people who are like rabid. It appears they hit play, but they have no idea that I'm recording right now. And
right.
I think when I take the time to remind myself, nobody knows that I'm making an episode. I might even end up deleting this. I don't know. We'll see what Jason says at the end. So nobody knows, Craig. If it doesn't go out until all days are blurs day to me, it's Wednesday. If it doesn't go out until tomorrow, who cares? I really found it freeing to move away from a schedule. But you're right. I believe I have completely torpedoed any chance of having a popular show. And I was like, okay, I mean, maybe,
Well,
I
no,
don't know,
you didn't. You can always get back on track.
hey, now
There's
I'm
always
not
the
off
next
track.
day. No, I'm just saying, like, you could be
I'm
like,
just
every
kidding.
Wednesday, this is coming out. I don't hell
Yeah.
or high water.
Yeah. I mean, and there's so many other ways to become beholden to a schedule without actually killing yourself. Like, you can say, I'm doing 12 episodes, 12 Wednesdays, and that's the end of season one. When I
Yes.
realized you could do seasons, which have been around forever, when Craig realized that you could do seasons, we were like on this Wednesday slog that our team was like struggling with. And then I was like, hey guys, we could like just stop in November and call it the end of season. And actually, I went, shit, this should be the end of season 3. And I went and I re-edited them, like,
Oh,
the
did you?
feed entries. I put them all in seasons. I'm like, hey, let's stop and
Oh,
take a break. So there's so many tricks. You could be like, let's just call it seasons. The seasons are 12. Have you had different ones of your clients want to do different things with seasons?
no, but we actually did that with Threads, my podcast that's retired. When I got a new host, I was like, let's do seasons. And we didn't relabel anything. We just went January, February, March, took April off, May, June, July, took August off. Like, just we did 3 months on, 1 month
Ah,
off, 3 months on. But we didn't relabel
nice.
anything. But we always let our listeners know, hey, this is last episode for the season. We'll see you in a month. And then we would go, like, we had Patreon too, but we would like turn Patreon off for that next month. Like, we wouldn't charge anybody, and then we
Hmm.
dark.
Ooh,
Like
that's the moral high road. Nice.
yes, I'm not gonna charge people if I'm not gonna provide content for them, I'm just like
I
it's
do.
not like it was a huge Patreon. I think we had, like, 5 people, but
Yeah.
still, I'm like,
I think I have
yeah.
7. Yes, exactly. But I think those people are okay with helping me pay for the ongoing hosting fees to run
They
the
probably would be, but I would feel so guilty. Like, I've had people bill me for a month because I, of course, as a fan, I spend $20 a month on Patreon for different
Yeah.
shows,
Yeah,
but
don't
they've
think about
not
it.
done
Don't
anything, and I'm just like, "Whatever, I don't care. I love you guys anyway." So,
It's the creator's mindset, I think. If people listening, us, you, me, if one is the type of person who thinks of what we are doing right here, right now as creating something, then anytime we know that somebody is creating, we know they're creating, even when it doesn't come out. It's like in the back of their head. They're
of
working on
course.
those episodes. So I think that if you have that creator mindset, then you're thinking about it the way you and I do.
Yeah.
And maybe other people don't think about it that way, but I don't know. I'm trapped in my first person. Does anybody else have the experience that they're stuck in their own head and everybody is out?
Yeah, ask my wife. Oh my gosh. I start having conversations with her because I've already been 3 minutes in my head, and she's like, "Wait, what are you talking about?" I'm like, "Oh, sorry. Let me back
Sorry.
up."
You're missing the tape. Here's the tape. Here's the playback.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's so many fun things about uh, like having the chance. So that my train of thought is about how having somebody who's not in your head can really help you break out of trains of thought. So
Yeah.
having a chance to talk to, I'm trying to lure somebody. I'm not going to say their name. I'm trying to lure somebody to help me start a show, the 15-minute thing that I was talking to Jason about. Right. So I'm trying
Mhm.
to lure somebody into starting a completely different kind of show that I haven't done before. And part of what excites me is the opportunity to, I want to say partly sucker punch somebody into podcasting, but get them interested in it so that I can get a fresh mind. Like they're not going to have
Yeah.
any of the preconceived notions. So, are you generally working alone when you're doing like post production or like, do you have, I'm going to say cohorts in crime, as a joke?
Yeah. I do have a partner in the business. He doesn't do any of the post-production or anything. He's just kind of, he helps with, like, the taxes, and he's a
Yeah.
business owner
More
himself,
like a
so he
silent
does a lot.
partner. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's never been part of that at all. Like, if I got sick and he had to edit, it's not gonna happen. I got a guy that I subcontract for. I actually do some editing for another editor.
Hmm.
I was like, "Hey, man, if I get sick," he's like, "Yeah, no problem. Just send me the file." So,
Yeah. It's like
but
a
no,
camaraderie.
I don't have a lot. I'm in a couple of groups that I communicate in. I bought this program, I don't know, a year ago, went through it with a guy, and then he created like a whole community online and didn't charge for the people that like believed in him early. So I have this whole like 20 people, and
Hmm.
he's been so helpful. Like I can message him. He is on the West Coast, so the timing is a little weird, but that's where I get a lot of my ideas and stuff and things of like I was just on an hour call with him on what do I need to do with my business to make it pop more. So but yeah, I don't really have anyone in my like real life, like where I talk to
Yeah.
every day
Immediate
that
bubble.
yeah, exactly, that really knows anything about podcasting at all.
Yeah, my wife is this. I mean, she probably knows more about podcasting than she would like to know about
Exactly.
podcasting. But yeah, we don't
100%.
we don't generally talk shop. And I do also have 3 silent partners kind of like that are involved and are engaged. And I don't know if you remember the old Dilbert cartoon where there's, Dilbert and Wally are like drinking coffee and a manager appears with a bungee cord on his back and the manager comes flying into the frame and he goes, "Hi, I'm your new manager. Real quick, let's change everything before I have to." When the bungee cord pulls him back out of the frame, it's like this. He shows up and Wally and Dilbert just never move. It's like this new manager, and then
Yeah.
he goes away.
Yeah.
And I think the people that are involved with me in the business side of it think I'm that. I show up like, "Well, I'm going to do a podcast. I'm thinking about it," and I'm gone. And they're just like,
Yeah.
uh,
What just
something.
happened?
Do you need money? What's going? What was that a
Yeah.
question?
I need a check, bye.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. But going back to the creative side of it, I mean, we could I could make you talk shop about post-production all day, but going back to the creative side of it, did you always think of podcasting as, because you really agreed with me when I said it's a creator's mindset. Did you always think of podcasting as being creative? Like, go back to when you were a podcast consumer and you're
Mhm.
listening, were you thinking, dude, these people are creative? And then there was a transition for you where you're like, wait, I'm creative. And then you made the thing? Or did you like, I love the creativity part of this. And I'm wondering if there was a mindset shift for you around the creativity part.
Yeah, I'm gonna break your heart because I don't feel like I'm creative at all. I don't think when I listen to podcasts, I didn't look at as them creating. I mean, because like I'm listening to shows like this, like me and you. It's not like a storytelling podcast, or a crime
Yeah,
podcast or whatever.
unstructured.
Yeah, it's not structured. So it's just like I didn't look at them as creatives. And even when I talk to my wife, I'm like, I don't feel creative. And she's like, but you are. Like you're talking
Yes.
and you're thinking and
Yes.
you're creating like things. And I was like, I don't look at it like that. I just look at it like I'm having a conversation. Now when I edit, I feel like I'm more of a creator there because I'm creating this file of like it was horseshit at the beginning, but now it's less horseshit, still horseshit, but it's less. You know what I mean?
Dude, I call what you guys do sculpting. Let's
Oh,
elevate the language.
sculpting.
Sculpting. Here's a block of marble. Oh my God. Somewhere there's something good in here. Chip, 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 chip.
Oh no, you give us
Yeah.
too much
Okay.
credit.
Horseshit. Horseshit.
Yeah, I always tell my clients like, what is it? I'll have to think of it, but it's a saying like this is you give me a pile of shit. Oh, that's it. You can give me this pile of audio that's a pile of shit. I can polish this pile of shit, but it's still going to be a pile of shit. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Just like, that's why I coached them on like mic placement and stuff like that. Cause like it'll not only make my job easier, but cause some of the stuff, you can't fix, you can only fix so much. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just,
Yeah. If they wander away, if I wander over here and then it's like wreck it, it's like, that's wrong. Where'd the bottom go?
well, actually I can fix that with some software.
Oh, huzzah.
Yeah, I mean it's a leveler that runs like full like during the entire file. Now
Oh.
it can be if you just did that quick like this and then came back, it might spike it. You know what I mean? There's
You
too
might
much of a
oversteer.
delay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if it was like all of a sudden, the mic went away like this, and then, for the most part, if it's not
sometimes you can save
ridiculous,
it.
the software will help that a little bit. So that's kind of the secret. There's a lot of software on the back end, which a lot of it I don't know. I mean, it takes. I mean, when you're talking like you're a surgeon with the software, like that takes just like anything. It takes a lot of practice, and I don't have a ton of that. So most of my software is just a blanket piece of software that does the whole file instead of just like trying to get this.
That's what
like
I do. Auto levels, and then
yeah. But I meticulously go through a lot of like if I hear a mouth noise and it didn't pick up with the software, I will cut it. Like I will not just let it go. I just won't do it because it's just a pet peeve of mine is mouth noises.
I do not like, my brother-in-law calls it stirring mac and cheese.
Ooh.
And it's just, no, make it stop.
About it.
But I've just learned to ignore it, and I keep a glass of water, and if I need to, I'll in my head.
You know what's frustrating, and I don't know if you consume a lot of podcasts, but there's a show, and I actually sent them a soliciting email, and they're popular, and I actually found them on TikTok. Great show. They got mouth noises on their show. I'm like, this can be solved by software and some slight editing. I know you're paying. You have somebody in your studio.
It's in the credits, right? Yeah.
And it's just like, what are you doing? You're not Joe Rogan famous, so it's like, I don't know. It's just so frustrating to me when a little bit of work could clean all that up and it's not being done. It's like, come on.
Yeah, well, maybe it's an unknown. You might have done them a huge favor by saying, guys,
I probably did. They ignored my email, but maybe they went to their editor and like, dude, once you pointed out, like I pointed out, I not taught my wife, but she didn't know what vocal fry was.
Oh, yes.
And I pointed it out and she goes, I hate you. Cause like now when some people do it, she's just like, I hate you that you pointed that out.
Thank you for breaking the world.
Right. And that's the same thing with the mouth noises.
Yeah.
Those hosts maybe never even realized it because they probably don't even listen to their own stuff. Because I don't. I edit it and like I'm not going to listen to the finished.
Ooh, that's a good question. I will admit that I do listen to my own stuff. I have this wacky way of randomly falling over my older episodes, And I'll say two things, and then I want to know what your opinion about back listening to your own work is. One, I'm always surprised at actually how good they are. I'm like, and not most of it is the guest talking, right? But it's like, wow, that really works. And then the
Yeah.
other part is like, I'm still cringing every time I
Oh,
say something.
yeah.
It's like, shut up, Craig. So, what are your thoughts on why don't you listen to your own work, or just no time?
No, I mean, well, yeah, that's part of it. I think it's always an imposter syndrome. I had that with my clients too. They're just like they can't start their first episode because they don't like the sound of their voice, and I
Mm,
don't. And even when I edit, I'm just like I've learned to like just ignore it. You know what I mean? It
yes,
doesn't bother me
yes.
anymore. But yeah, I don't know why. Like I already recorded it. I listened live and then I edited it. Why would I want to listen to it to a third time? But it probably is good to do because you may find things that you're doing that maybe your host isn't going to tell you or your fans aren't
Mm,
going to tell
I'll
you
tell you.
because they love you and you listen to it, which I think I would catch in editing, but just be like, oh gosh, I gotta stop that. Like, why do I keep, I say
Yeah.
yeah a lot. Like in an interview, I have to learn, like when you're talking, I need to just be quiet, but I'll be like, yeah, yeah. I'm like, oh my gosh, Jason, stop doing that. But yeah, I think I just don't want to listen to it for a third time.
I yeah, I'd say I don't want to listen, and it's because I feel like I heard the conversation live, but I'm just saying when I listen to stuff back, I realized I didn't hear the conversation. I mean, like I was
Yeah.
listening, but there's the freedom of not having to think while
Yes.
listening. Like doing this with a mic, you have to think a little bit, and there's a lot of
You know what
freedom in
I
listening.
find? I used the wrong word, but I didn't hear it live. So when I'm editing it, I was like, "Ah," and then no one called me out on it. My host didn't, like my co-host didn't. I'm just like, because they know what I meant, but it's like, "Oh, Jason, jeez."
Yeah. Did you mean to say Dumkov? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, it's terrible. I get so frustrated with myself when the wrong word comes out, but and then I don't even catch it because I'm like talking so fast and excited. It's just like, where
Mm,
I'm gone.
yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of energy that I think good hosts that, you clearly are putting into the reading the body language and doing other things. Here's a random question. Have you had any experience with people giving you audio that's recorded with versus without video? So I've encountered a couple, I've been guests on some shows where they've wanted to turn the video off. And then we literally just like, is that Terry Gross does that record audio only? Like, have you had that? And do you feel like there's any difference in the audio quality?
I don't think I've had that myself from a client, but I've done it as a host, and I hate not having video. It's
Oh, thank
so
God. I hate
hard.
it too.
I hate it. It's like you don't know when people are like ready to talk because like if I see you like open your mouth, I'd be like, okay, I need to back off or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or if
Just
I'm going, there's
yeah.
a delay.
Yeah, or yeah, if you're like having an asthma attack and you mute it, I'm gonna fill time while you recover. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. But no, video is so important. I tell my clients that like if you're gonna just don't record it. The only problem is these people don't understand the amount of bandwidth you need
Yes.
for recording. And sometimes like you mentioned New Zealand in the pre-show. I do have a fan from New Zealand in my other show. And man, when we record with her, we've done it 2 or 3 times. We have to turn the video off because it's
For
just,
that one.
I mean,
Yeah.
everyone
Reality.
thinks, yeah, everyone thinks Wi-Fi is great, and I think it
No,
is
no, no, no,
mostly.
no.
Yeah,
Wires.
yeah, I
Wires.
know.
Everything needs to have a wire.
But the problem is these new MacBooks, they don't have Ethernet ports.
Yeah.
Like it's
Well,
Wi-Fi only, and everyone gets a new MacBook. And I'm like, "Do you have Ethernet?" They're like, "What's that?" I'm like,
yeah,
"Here we
they make it.
go."
They make a dongle. Look it up. Plug in the USB-C. Get
Yeah.
Ethernet. Yeah, no, I'm standing in front of an iMac that's on my desktop, and it's wired Ethernet. I had to drag the cable through the house, and it's
Yep, me
a
too.
high-end cable, internet speed, and I do a lot of
But I
stuff
still
like
have
I.
trouble.
Oh yeah, stuff still
Yeah,
goes
I mean,
wrong.
even with wired. So,
Yeah.
anyways.
Cool. Any last parting thoughts? We didn't do diddly munch about domain names. So first thing I want to know is tell me the name of the production company because I think I saw you have like a hey, click here for 15 minutes of free chit chat talk with
Yeah,
Jason, which I think people should do. So what's the domain name and the name of the production company?
it's heyguysmediagroup.com, and that's the
Hmm.
name of the production company. Well,
Cool.
the state says of Michigan LLC, but we don't put that.
Oh, yeah.
It was weird. They made us do that. I don't know what it was. I think somebody had the name or something. I don't know, but
I
yeah.
will be
Hey
sure to
guys,
link
media.
that. That's
Yeah.
cool. And the two shows, that the one that is still going and the one that you finished are?
Yes, the Gig Economy podcast, that is about gig work. So that's Uber, DoorDash, Lyft, Instacart. We basically twice a month we do a news podcast of like what's going on. And the other two podcasts are we interview a gig worker and a gig creator, like on YouTube and
Ooh,
stuff like
neat.
that. Just to see, they're obviously gig workers. And the second half, that one's usually 30 minutes. We talk about why you create, what sets you apart, what kind of content you like to do, that kind of stuff.
Mm.
So that one you can go to gigeconomyshow.com. And then the other one was Threads Podcast, which we talked pre-show. Like, I kind of want to go back to it because I miss the conversations. Like, if you
Build
listen to that
something
show,
new. Yeah,
I
build
know
something new.
if you listen to that show from beginning to end, I went through a lot of therapy during that 4 or 5 years. I mean, I am a different person. Like it's really interesting to hear the story on that. But yeah, that one was Threads Podcast, Life Unfiltered. So
How long do you think you'll keep that on the internet? Because it isn't free.
it's $5 a month. I
Well,
can
I know
keep that
people who
forever.
balk at that. Okay, cool. All right, you've heard it. You're committed. $60 a year. That show stays up forever.
And
I
I
hate
will
when my
never go
favorite
to
shows.
a free one. I'm just not a fan of free things. I mean, I am a
I'm,
fan of free things, but I
but
but
I
I
agree
want to
with you.
pay.
I
Yeah,
want to pay for the things that I'm using because otherwise I'm the product that's being sold. All right,
exactly.
Jason, it was a distinct pleasure to meet you, to hang out, to chit chat. I do this because I love having cool conversations and I hope that you had a great time. So thank you for taking the time today.
Thank you for having me, Craig. This is great. I love talking podcasting, so I'll come on anytime.